This is the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo Manifesto Editions. This is part of the investigative series dedicated to the status being given to these 3 baby kittens by the criminals controlling the access to any space where I could feed them in the evenings. The baby black and white one, the baby gray one, and the baby shuri-like one or shuri-look one. I don't know how long I'd be having to wait for these criminals to disappear or their obstructions to disappear. In the meantime, I pray to God Almighty. Follow in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Isra. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. Well, following the Holy Quran, I have to check whether it's in the Surah Al-Isra or not, but it is a prayer that God instructed the Prophet who was in imminent danger of being attacked to pray, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. So zalimin is of course a plural. So the attackers might be more than one. And the fish that God instructed to secure and safely carry to a safe destination, the safe destination, and deliver the Prophet there. Followed the instructions, and the fish securely carried the Prophet. And whatever the distance it had to travel, it did travel. And at the end of the travel journey, it securely, safely, protectively delivered the Prophet in a safe place. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. So these 3 baby kittens, I pray for God to provide for them safety and nourishment and protection, and for God to do the necessary thing to abolish these criminals who are obstructing these baby kitten ones. The grey one, the vision of the grey one struggling to get over the wall and into the precinct one evening, the late evening, the last one, when I was able to look at them and give them the food. The criminals obstructing the feeding of these angels. May God destroy these criminals. May God destroy the obstructions and the hatred that criminals personify. This is 8:35 British Standard Time, which is 7:35 GMT on Saturday, the 14th of September 2024. Today's newspapers, if it is possible to have a look, the Times is promoting the war criminal against humanity, the liar, Tony Blair, in the Times magazine. It is too disgusting to read any promotion for this shaitan. Tony Blair was the shaitan that colluded and was in Afghanistan. That George overhyped comedian. John Colso made his career to be doing satirical sketches on Bush and Bilaya during those years when these two criminals were leading the mass murders of innocent Iraqis and innocent Afghan people and innocent other people. John Colso is a complete, absolute sham. All his jokes and all his so-called sketches, allegedly to mock Belayar and Bush, came unstuck. In my view, as I was suffering them for the record, for the evidence. And the Times racistly boasting about the collection of Times letters to the Times. These are Little English collection. The world doesn't exist. In intellectual height, morality and ethics, they do not exist in the view of the criminals, racists, that actually so-called allegedly edit the Times letters. Now, there is a book review on a book called Raising Hare, that is the animal, by Chloe Dalton. Rather than making a political advisor spend the pandemic bottle feeding a liberate, this bit, this hare babysitting an infant animal, especially one that has never been successfully domesticated, is no mean feat. Dalton adapted impeccably, waking up before sunrise to prepare milk, milk bottles, and tiptoeing across hardwood floors to avoid disturbing its sleep pattern, giving up perfume to go au naturel by scouring the literature on how to care for European brown hares, sparse compared with hunting manuals, and leaning on the know-how of our veterinarian's sister. She was somehow able to keep the little Liberate going. It's very good. We should be reading this one in full when I'm not on the street. The Times Saturday magazine contains surprisingly unexpected reviews of books. Like this one is another book about India, William Dalrymple, How Ancient India Transformed the World, The Golden Road, which is absolutely something that I shall be reading in full. But the heading is misleading because the genocide of the Buddhists by the Hindus, millions of Buddhists who now live in the Far Eastern countries, there's Vietnam, even China, and Thailand and Philippines and other places. They were there seeking shelter from the genocide of the Buddhists that was being carried out by the Hindu ancestors of today's Modi and others. So that is typical because that is actually Dalrymple is a complete fraudulent self-promoter who has now latched onto promoting the image of India to the exclusion of the image of the rest of the countries, because by India they don't mean include the 200 or 300 million people within what they call India, who are the Muslims. And they don't include the. Do you want me to move? Do you want me to move? Okay. So they don't mean the people of. They don't mean the people of Pakistan or the people of Bangladesh. Now, looking at the hatred in human beings, I mean, looking at the crowds anywhere going about, as they say, their business, it is very difficult to tell how many of them had spent the previous 24 hours inflicting how much cruelty to their neighbors or their people who they otherwise may be addressing as their loved ones. For example, when the original three baby kittens, the K. Jordan kittens, were in grave danger in Brick Lane during the tumultuous period of several months in 2012, the cruelty and complicity by one of the criminals that K. Jordan had actually rescued from absolute a life of complete criminality and poverty, was approached with the expectation that he should intervene and stop the criminal carrying out the severe attacks against the three K. Jordan kittens. And this one was sent different messages about, I would say in the period, about 100 messages. And the criminal ignored all the messages. So there is such a complexity in the constitution of human beings that generally from the outside may appear to be innocent, but they are not. As they say, as the phrase is, left to their own devices, these criminals are absolutely cruel. This criminal would never do this even 1/100th of the time. He would not. It's a male one criminal coming from Silot. He would not do that if instead of it being me, the person sending the messages was K. Jordan. Mental slavery is not something that is exceptional. Mental slavery is collective and it is completely, absolutely the main contributory cause for occupation, for imperialism, for the actual subjugation and occupation and oppression of a so-called people by other people. So, for example, when the criminal called Stephanie abusing the position at the Spitalfield Small Business Association was given support by the other employees, all of whom would have deferred to K. Jordan if she were around. They colluded with her, and the criminal company of contractors, cleaning contractors, it was such a elaborate, persistent scheme of attacks on the three K. Jordan kittens in their home in Brick Lane. Even in summary, to remember these cruelties and lack of compassion and hatred is extremely distressing. Suffice to say that all these people look, as they say, ordinarily speaking, normal. But they're far from normal. They are absolute vicious. So the details of their behavior has to be collated, and if it is possible at all, lessons very clearly put in front of other people generally. The human beings should not be behaving in that way at all, but they do. They're cruel and they hurt other beings. And the targeting of the baby kittens by this evilness called Stephanie, as I say, cannot be described in this broadcast because it is too distressing. It has to be described in a way, at a time, a circumstance that doesn't cause as much distress. In previous broadcasts, I have said about the three Prince Regent kittens. The same thing, that the fact that the criminals, evilly misnamed Joy Foundation criminals, have been preventing these three baby ones from being fed their meals in the evening is something that cannot be described without going through severe distress. Human beings, I remember again distressingly the stressful memories in the village, in Ceylon, the villages, the cruelty inflicted on animals by human beings. Where do these people find the prompts for being so cruel and so heartful and heartless? As I said about a man who was a bearded man going to the East London Mosque in the street, Parfait Street, that I was standing one evening. I was standing very cautiously, carefully, waiting for one of the kittens that would come for the meal, or I was looking for the correct calm moment for the kitten to feel safe to come out and take the food. And this man, going to the mosque, onto the Fieldgate Street, was hissing at the cab, frightening it, and it went away frightened. Muslim, how can Muslims be so completely ignorant? Because the tales of the Prophet, peace be on him, and his companion who loved kittens, the tale should be widely spread and widely explained and clarified as lessons for the Muslims to actually follow. How is that possible? So I shall be ending this one with a note on baby angel Geronimo. All the human beings that have been featured or been featuring in these broadcasts about the baby angel Geronimo are otherwise, most of them are literate, so-called educated, but they're completely under the spell of Shaitan, the evil. This is now 25 minutes long and 07:55 GMT, 08:55 British Standard Time on Saturday the 14th of September 2024.